Another useful case for promises is when you need some sort of flow control. Now, this is an example where you would probably find it on the back end in maybe something like Node.js when you are querying a database. We have like a post ID that someone is going to give us, like 1, 2, or 3, and each of those is associated with a post by myself, Chris Coyer, or Adi Osmani. Then there is also another table that contains the authors. Like it tells you who the author's name is, but if you want more information about the author, like their Twitter and their bio, then we have to go to a separate table. So just imagine that these two arrays here, these are like a database, and we're going to sort of simulate ourselves connecting to a database, which won't be accessible immediately to us, which is why we're going to need to use promises. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create two separate functions that are both going to return promises, and then we're going to be able to chain them together. So the first one is going to be a function called get post by ID. And what that will do is it's going to be called like this: get post by ID. And we're going to pass it something like 2. And then it's going to look up in our database here for a post that has an ID of 2. So we'll go in here, and the first thing we need is a promise, because we cannot just access it from our database immediately. It has to do a round trip back and forth to a database. So we're going to return a new promise. That gives us a resolve and a reject. Now we need to go inside of here and find the post. So when the post ID, we're going to loop over every single one of these. And when the ID is matched up to the one that got passed into this function, so when it is 2, we're going to find the post there. And we're going to say if there is a post, then resolve and give the promise the post. Otherwise, we are going to reject. I'm going to say error, no post was found. Now, in order to just simulate this so that it actually takes time, what we can do is you can say set timeout. Just wrap this in a set timeout, which will sort of simulate it taking 200 millisecond round trip. So if you'd like it to run instantly, you don't have to do this part, but that's totally up to you. Okay, so what do we have here? Let's add a couple comments here. Create a new promise. We are using a set timeout to mimic a database. We find the post we want. And if there's a post, that's self-explanatory. Resolve. So send the post back. Otherwise, we reject, and we don't have an error. That's pretty self-explanatory. So that is our get post by ID. So we should be able to say get post by ID dot then, and it should give us a post. And I think we can just console log the post. So let's see. Open that up in the browser. There we go. There is our post immediately. We got post by ID 2. It shows us there's Chris Coyer. So if I were to change this to 2 seconds, you'll notice that it doesn't show us immediately, and then we see it after 2 seconds. I'll keep it at 200 just to keep it nice and fast. Now, we want to do this thing that I like to call hydrating, where the author of this post is just a string of Wes Boss, but I would like to replace it with the author object for Wes Boss, which has my name as well as my Twitter, as well as my bio. So I'm going to create a new function called hydrate author, which is going to take in the post. And why we are going to do this is because once the post comes back in this first one right here, we're going to console log it, but we are also going to just call another hydrate author and pass it the post. And this hydrate author function is going to return a promise itself. So if we return a promise inside of a then, that's going to allow us to chain a dot then onto the next line. But let's write the actual function first. So we're going to say return new promise. And inside of here, we're going to say const author details equals authors.find. We're going to say person. And then we're going to find the one where the person.name is equal to the post.name. So the post that gets passed in is going to be the post that was found in the previous function. And we are going to just sort of filter through all of these authors until we find an author name that lines up exactly with the author name of the post that was written. So we should have author details here. Um, and we can say if there's author details, we resolve and pass not